Replit, if you ask any developer, is for noobs. I spent €100 on that ad and I only made a €10 profit. So I killed that project. I love when people buy the €199 per year because that's big cash flow for that month. I was like, oh my God, wow, it's like Levels is noticing me.
Hello everyone, it's quite busy today, as expected, amazing. Welcome to Valentina Heights, the best garden of Bansko we call this. Today we're going to do a little bit of an interview. We start with Luca. We actually run a podcast, a God Mode pod, together. We talk about AI every week, about Vibecoding, about building businesses as a solo founder. Luca is a solo founder, so I want to talk with him about how to go from idea to revenue. Gonna do like 10-minute quick discussion, asking some questions. Give us a quick introduction. Who are you and what have you been building? What was the idea?
Yeah, I'll quickly just say again, like in the past year, AI has moved so fast that if it wasn't for meeting up once a week on this God Mode podcast and discussing with Rick and Ben the news cycle, what's going on, I don't think I would have personally been able to keep up. So feel free to follow us on Instagram, YouTube after today. But who I am is a person who has been into business for 10 years. And AI was the first time I was able to, use the full stack in that sense. But the idea is simple. What I was looking at for the previous year was this court website in the country that I come from. And essentially on this court website, properties that are in trouble, so the person has not paid their loan, would be listed on this website. And the UI was very poor. And what I realized was that no one was really talking about this site and no one was putting any marketing or exposure out onto it. And that was because people would rather keep it secret. So I did the opposite and I scraped all of the information that is found on this court website, used Vibecoding to build a site that looks like a typical property website, very easy to navigate, to see photos, to see prices. And I launched that. And then I connected with an actual lawyer to be able to fulfill the services, to help people to bid, to do legal research. And that's the whole business that I built.
So you had the idea and then you saw a gap. How did you go from launching? Like you mentioned launching,
Yeah.
but like how did you make that step?
Now, like, this is something I encourage everyone. It's like, if you have an idea, don't keep it in your head and share it as much as possible. Because I thought it was a good idea, but I have a lot of ideas and I never know which idea is actually worth pursuing. So I was actually talking to some people in December about this idea and telling them, hey, I have this idea to build this website. And from all of the ideas that I was talking to people about, everyone kept telling me, this one is the one, this one is great, this one is great. And I took that as the way of filtering out my ideas, was sharing them with people, getting feedback and not keeping it just stuck to myself. And one thing I do as well is I build in public. So when I create a project, I'm basically deploying to a live domain immediately, and I'm marketing it as fast as possible, even when it's not ready or I don't have a business model developed, because I just want to put it out into the world and start seeing if there's any reason to continue pursuing the idea. I think the most troublesome thing you can do is work on something for 12 months and not see if anyone's going to pay for it. So that I think is really important, is to kind of have a Stripe link or a sign up link for people to actually use your product and see if they like it. So yeah.
And we joke on the podcast that Luca uses one specific tool for the last more than a year now, while everyone's using Claude Code or Codex, learning the complex code editors or agentic things. What tool do you use and why are you still stuck on that one?
Yeah, so I built a business that's doing 10K a month on Replit. And Replit, if you ask any developer, is for noobs. It's for the guys who don't know how to actually code properly and they don't know how things are structured. But I don't want to waste time every day learning something new, always having to research something new to test the latest tool. So I stuck with Replit for a long time because it was working for me and it was the fastest thing I could use to build with. So again, I encourage you to use what works for you and not get distracted by people who are maybe saying, oh, you can save an extra $100 if you use this new workflow and this open source and this thing. Because if you're trying to build a business and you're thinking about saving 100 euros, and that's not gonna change your life. Whilst I believe if you focus on shipping faster and getting something to the market that has a value, it's worth more of your time. So, yeah.
And you said build in public. I remember when you just had an MVP out, I think you had a comment or a retweet from Peter Levels on Twitter. Was this when your product was ready already, or like how did you get this?
Yeah, so maybe today you see a guy who's talking loud and feeling like really confident, but in February I had just quit my job, and I turned 30 this year, and it was quite scary. I'm like, wow, I'm turning 30 and I'm gonna have no income. That's kind of sucks. And I did put out this website, and there were some people signing up organically, but I was feeling a bit insecure about actually putting my name behind it. So I didn't share it on my LinkedIn, I didn't share it on my Instagram, I didn't share it anywhere where my friends can see me, and I put it on X. I just had two, 3 beers in a bar. I recorded a video of me talking for 1 minute about what I built, and I tagged Levels. I told him, thank you for writing your book, The Indie Hacker's Guide to Bootstrapping. And he commented, and after he commented, I was like, oh my God, wow, it's like Levels is noticing me. And I asked Rick, because Rick's an amazing marketer. I said, Rick, what should I do? And he's like, you should boost that post where he replied and market the ads that you did spontaneously on X. And it was the first time I used X to actually run ads. And I did that in my country of Malta. And I was very surprised because the people who were reaching out to me were CEOs of tech companies that are based in my country. Who I ran a LinkedIn ad or an Instagram ad, I think would have been a lot more difficult to find. So this did unlock something in my mind where it's like, wow, X actually has a very interesting target audience. And because so many big brands are not advertising on X at all, it's quite affordable to do so.
And these organic users that came to your platform, were they paid users from day one, or how did you get your first paid customers?
No, so when I launched it just free. I didn't have a business model yet. You could just log in, but to actually enter the platform, you had to sign up. And I wanted to do that because I think that if you have people logging in, you start collecting data, you start seeing, oh, there's like a bit more interest. And then when I had maybe 20 people sign up organically, I'm like, okay, maybe now I should put a subscription fee. And I'll be honest, as the months went by, I realized just how little actually how little prepared I was to run a SaaS product. 1 month into launching, when I had about maybe 40, 50 subscribers, I got an email from one of my users, and he told me, hey, how do I reset my password? Because I hadn't set up a way for people to do a forgot password button. So again, like, don't overthink things. Don't wait till everything's perfect. No one's going to be angry at you if you forgot to put a forgot password. Just make sure you ship it in that same day. And today, with Vibecoding, if something is missing, you can fix it immediately. So I would encourage you to push things out before you think it's ready. Even the UI was horrible, it wasn't working correctly, and I only started improving it when users were actually on the platform. And I think the early users really appreciated seeing the platform develop over time, and that made them develop a relationship with the platform because they felt like they were the early adopters and they saw it go from MVP to something a bit more polished. And I think that's underrated as well because you build a kind of a connection with your audience.
And then today, 7 months later, how much work do you still put into this platform? Is this still the main thing you're focusing on, spending your time on? Like, how much time this versus new ideas?
Yeah, I'm quite ADHD, so I'm very bored of it already. But I spend maybe 5 hours a week just making sure that the scraper is working. I don't take care of customer service. I have one lawyer who replies to all of the clients, and he gets a small cut from the platform. In the past, I used to get co-founders into things that I built. Today, I prefer to keep equity completely in my hands and have revenue sharing with anyone that I'm working with. That keeps me more accountable, keeps the ball in my court, and I think that's how I prefer to kind of operate as a solopreneur.
Can you also maybe quickly list, because I don't think you touched on this, where the revenue is coming from? Like, what's the different streams of income for the business?
Yeah, so to access the platform and to see, so once a user signs up and they can access the platform, they get 3 free property views. So they can click on 3 listings. Once they've used up those 3 property reviews, they hit a paywall. And the paywall prompts them to subscribe for either €12 per week, €29 per month, or €199 per year. I love when people buy the €199 per year because that's big cash flow for that month. Then what happens is once they're able to access the platform, I'm upselling them legal services. So if they want to do research on a property, I charge them €199. If they want us to bid for them, I charge them €249 to onboard on power of attorney. Once they're onboarded with power of attorney and we're bidding on their behalf, they don't have to pay for any of the bids, and they only have a 1% fee if they win a bid on the property value.
Okay, and then last question, if there's one lesson that the audience should take away from what you learned in this journey, what is that?
Again, it's like don't romanticize your ideas, put them out into the world as quickly as possible. This is one of the ideas that I launched in January and February. It wasn't the only one. It wasn't even the one I thought would work out. I thought that people wouldn't need this because there was already a website that existed that was free. And I was like, why would people pay for something that's behind a paywall? But user experience is better. There's no way to do legal research through the official government website. So the users are finding value and they are subscribing, and there's a good chunk of them that are remaining subscribed. My churn's at 10-15%. But another idea I had done, just to have some reference, I had built a site where you upload your pet picture. It generates your pet to look like a king or a queen. It's called Regal Pet. It's still live. So if you want to make your pet look like a king, you could. Then that photo is generated with AI for free. You see that photo, and if you like it and you want it to be delivered to your home, you pay for it to be printed, and it's printed inside of a gold frame. But I launched that. I put an ad out for that. I spent €100 on that ad, and I only made a €10 profit. So I killed that project. Yeah.
So test fast, break things.
Yeah, test fast, break things. Don't romanticize your idea. Share, and I encourage you. Look, you're surrounded by people here today who are all doing interesting things. When you're able to pitch something in 1 minute, you are honing your ad copy. Your 1 minute pitch becomes your landing page, it becomes your marketing materials, it becomes everything. So the more often you pitch something, the better you will become at communicating it, and the more quickly you will find out which parts of the pitch people are not understanding. And when I launched, I didn't have all of the answers. I didn't know that I would be able to upsell legal services. I wasn't sure if I could actually represent people through power of attorney. But I didn't wait till I have everything figured out. I just went forward. I went into the law courts. In the law courts, I bumped into one lawyer. I told him, hey, are you a lawyer? He told me, yes. I told him, what's your number? And he started working with me on this. So, yeah, I'm going to be repeating the same business model for Bulgaria. Actually, I yesterday started building kind of a clone of this business for Bulgaria. And I'm just going to walk into the court in Blagoevgrad, I can't even say the name, next week, and try meet some lawyers over there and maybe do the same thing again. So, yeah. And another takeaway that I think is important is I come from a very small country. So it's easier for me to find ideas that have maybe succeeded in France or in the United States that haven't been done in Malta. But if you're from UK or from USA, nothing should stop you from looking at emerging markets, seeing something that works in another country and creating something localized for that country, especially now that software is so cheap to build. What maybe used to cost a lot of money that it wouldn't make sense to build for a small micro market. I've got 150 subscribers. If I built this in a traditional world, it would have been way too expensive. Now it actually makes sense.
Okay, great. Thank you. I hope that was valuable. I think it was. Awesome. Thank you, Luca.
Thank you.